Hey guys, so I'm gonna walk you through. This is actually one of my blog posts that I have on my website. But what you can do is just kind of listen if you want to see this video, and if not, just pause it and you can just read through the post yourself. But these are just some of my favorite applications and web-based program for math co-teachers. So I typically teach math, and so therefore these are great for math, but some of them might also be great for any other subject as well. So let's roll through them really quick. So Pear Deck, I'm sure a lot of you guys have used Pear Deck. It's a Google add-on. It's an app. I love using it for lesson facilitation, practice, drag and drop features, and the drawing feature. What I really like about Pear Deck is both teachers can edit and view work synchronously. And it's super easy and quick to learn. Like if you already have slides on Google, you can change them super quick and it's great. So this is something that I'm hoping, teachers are going to use in the future, not just while we're in virtual learning, but also when we go back, because students benefit from you being able to see their work at all times. So why not do homework slides or practice slides? It's a little bit challenging sometimes for students to write on them, but again, there's a lot of drag and drop and other fun features to use, so it's not just for drawing on. There's some pros and cons in my blog post, so feel free to go through those and read them. There's one quick implementation tip that I want to share is just being able to switch from live mode to self-paced while the students are working on their practice is kind of great. So you could have live class, and then once they start working on independent practice, you could actually switch them to self-paced mode, so that if you had differentiated practice set up, this would be a great time to have differentiated practice and allow students to work on different things at the same time while still working on the same lesson with you. So this is just a fun feature that you can do really easily with Pear Deck. My next favorite is Nearpod. Again, I'm sure a lot of you guys have used this. Super awesome. Now teachers can both plan and facilitate easily the instruction at the same time. When you share your live participation link, you can also share a co-teacher link, and your co-teacher can see your content while you are teaching it. Whichever one of you is facilitating, the other one can also see everything that the students are doing. So it's really nice. I love using this for facilitating lessons, doing practice. My favorite part about this is I don't have to also use Edpuzzle. So when I use Pear Deck, I still have to use other programs like Edpuzzle or something like that if I want to insert questions into my video and actually have students answer them on the computer. With this, I can do that activity on my Nearpod and actually have students do this at a self-paced lesson and answer questions in a video, and then do practice where they're writing on slides all at the same time. So this is another thing that, again, beyond this virtual environment, this is going to be a great program to be able to continue to use when we're back in our classrooms. I think it's a pretty low learning curve. It's definitely not nearly as fast to build lessons as Pear Deck, but I think there's some things about Nearpod that I like better. So one of my classes I use Pear Deck for a lot more. Nearpod I use a lot more in my other class. So it just kind of depends on the features and which one you need for which class. Again, pros and cons are there. And one thing I really like to do with Nearpod is I always create a live link, and I also create a self-paced link. I share the self-paced link with students in the Google Classroom so they can do it anytime, and I share the live link when class is actually happening. So obviously we're virtual right now. That may change how you use those different features when we're not on the computer anymore. But another just fun tip that you can use. Next, my next favorite is Desmos. Again, this is a math specific one, but I really like Desmos because any practice that requires a scientific calculator, multi-part questions, or practice that requires graphing, it's much easier to learn to create these problems on your own, or you can even just use other people's stuff, which is really great. So people have created tons of amazing different Desmos activities, and it's really nice to be able to see it. So for co-teaching, as long as both teachers are registered in the Google Classroom as a teacher of the class, both teachers can view the student progress during and after student work sessions. So great feature for co-teaching if you're teaching math, because you can both view it live, and so obviously you can then both help students live as well. I think in terms of the learning curve to actually create Desmos activities, some of them are really, really easy and really fast to create. There's also some that are really time intensive and really confusing if you don't know what you're doing or haven't really gotten instruction on how to do it. There are YouTube videos that can kind of teach you how to do everything, but again, for this one, there's a ton of free stuff out there, so just take what people have created and then learn to play around with it as you can. A lot of pros and cons are again listed. Feel free to read through them in my blog post. And the implementation tip is what I already shared. Just use a pre-created stuff if you can. My next favorite one is iExcel. I'm obsessed with iExcel. I use it every day in math class. It's an online program. It's amazing for any standards-based math practice. As long as both teachers have a license, in terms of co-teaching, students can be on both rosters of both teachers. So for example, in my co-teaching class for Algebra 2 this year, I'm working with a man named Mr. Soria. Mr. Soria has a license. I have a license. So we both created a roster of our class. We can't see each other's class. Like we both had to make our own roster in our own classroom, but whatever students do, we can both view. So it's just a little tiny bit more time consuming because you both have to make a roster, but there's very easy import methods through like Excel sheets and stuff to create those rosters. So it's really not very time consuming. The learning curve is extremely low. Like if you're looking for multiplying binomials, you can literally just search multiply binomials and 10 things are going to show up. Find the one at your grade level or search through a couple different types of problems. Find what's the right one for your students. They're extremely like what you're looking for. So if you want add positive and negative integers only for adding let's say the distributive problem, like you can probably find that, or with a equals 1 for factoring polynomials, you can find that. So I really like this because it makes differentiation so easy and both teachers can access it at the same time. Pros and cons, again, are available in the blog post. And one implementation tip that I've learned over the use of this for the last few years is don't force students to get all the way to a SMART score of 100. So they use SMART scores to kind of gauge how students are doing. If you ask students to get to a SMART score of 100 all the time, they may never just use iExcel because some kids, it might take them 15 minutes to get to a SMART score of 100 because they really understand it quickly. Other kids, it may take them like 3 hours to get there because, they're getting some right, then they get them wrong. And when they get a problem wrong, it drops them almost 10 points most times. So you can be doing great and then get one wrong and drop quite far, which is a little bit discouraging sometimes for students. So I typically, during a practice session, will tell students that they'll get credit as long as they are showing some mastery, like they are getting better at the problems and they complete a certain amount of time, or they get to a certain score. So I kind of give them 3 different criteria of how they can get full credit for working on this. So I hope this was helpful, kind of talking through all the different things, the different tools. If you have other ones, feel free to throw them in the comments. Let us know what are some other great co-teaching applications that you use. Thanks, guys. Bye.